I want to welcome everybody to Chassidus from Misnagdim at Schwartz, 1575 Coney Island Avenue. We meet every Thursday night at 9:15 p.m., except next Thursday night, February 23rd, we will not. I also want to thank the very worthy organization, TorahAnytime.com, for making these shurim available for those who cannot show in person. I want to dedicate the schus of the Limud HaTorah tonight to the Refuah Shleima of Yosef Shalom ben Chaim Usher, it's Rav Yoshev, and to Yisrael ben Chana Tziril, that's Rav Belsky, Rashiv Tarvadas. Should be Zaycha to Refuah Shleima. Okay, so let's, we're a departure from what we usually do over here. Just hand this to him to sign in because it's the first time he's here. Whoops. To sign in. Okay. No, you signed in already. The mayor behind you. What? Oh, what? Do I have extra paper? Oh, and extra paper. If not, just look on. Would you look on if you don't mind? Okay. Anyway, we're going to spend a few minutes recapitulating, which is usually why I want to start something new, because when you chazer last week's year, you don't have that much time to go weiter. But there was such a gedichte piece that we decided we were going to be mamshich with it. Okay, so just very briefly, Chaim Chernovitz in the Sefer V'Sidur Shel Shabbos is running with two basic chazals. Number one, B'li Das Havdalah Menayin, he's interpreting to mean that anything that requires Havdalah requires a little subtlety. It requires discernment. If it's an 800-pound elephant sitting in the room that distinguishes one thing for another, that's not the kind of Havdalah that requires das. Number one. Number two, along the same lines is, Ve'evdaltem ben abehema tahira l'asher nena tahira, that you should separate, you should distinguish from abehema tahira to enena tahira. So the Chazal asked the question, what does that mean? I have to separate between a donkey and an ox? That's self-evident. Elamai, you have to separate a tahira l'cha and a tahira l'cha. And what does that Chazal say? Between a veshet, an esophagus that was sliced by the sheikh to exactly 50% to a hair over 50%. 50% is treif, tamei l'cha, 50.00001% is kosher. Okay, it's tahira l'cha. That kind of Havdalah, that kind of subtlety that doesn't meet the eye, that's the Havdalah that's wanted. He runs with this, and he applies it so far to two concepts. One is the Kedusha Shabbos. He says Shabbos has to be different from the days of the week, not in the fact that Shabbos has Issa Malacha and the weekdays have Heta Malacha. Not in the fact that Pesukah de Zimra in Shabbos is 3 times longer than Pesukah de Zimra on a weekday that has a Musaf and a weekday doesn't. But in the etzem tefillas, in all around Haggis, that Shabbat has in common with the week. What's not near line, not what meets the eye. That's what a Havdalah and Kedusha Shabbos really inheres. Number one. He extends that concept also to Kedushas Yisrael and Havdalah Yisrael ben Am. The fact that we have more mitzvahs, they have 7, we have 613, our behaviors are different from the Goyim, that's self-evident. That's like the difference between an ox and a donkey. Then he says a Meredik Chiddush. Their neshamas are different than theirs. That's also self-evident. What's not self-evident? Our physicality, our physical needs, our physical desires. They need to drink, we need to drink. They need to eat, we need to eat. And all the other taivas gufnius, as he calls them, that's where we have to exercise Havdalah ben Yisrael Amim most of all. Okay. So we're on Amud Kuf Ayin Zayin, and not Alei, not the third leaf. That's what he calls these things. Shayrif, Anaf, Alim. We're not. I would call it an ice, not an ice gimel. At the beginning, we're going to start from Ashrei. Okay. Now he's talking. He's kind of inverting the order. Not that I'm criticizing him. If I'd be the author of the Sefer, I'd be writing the Pashat on Haga first, and then going to the Heicha Madregas. He's starting from the Heicha Madregas. And basically, I mean, it's good to study it, it's good to learn, it's good to know that such a concept exists. But basically the regimen that he's about to describe now, that we're going to learn first in the next 4 or 5 paragraphs, is what we would title under Chachmei Kabbalah, Yidin V'Skan Declinaisius, Tzadikim, whatever you want to call it. It's not the generic garden variety, Kol Masach Yul L'Shem Shemayim kind of a thing. Although he's going to get to that and explain that very beautifully as well. He's saying something a little bit higher than that. But the point that he's trying to make is, this is one of the ways that a Jew, a super Jew, a tzaddik of a Jew, distinguishes himself from a non-Jew. The Havdalah ben Yisrael La'amim stellt sich aus in that when a Yid, he's going to start out with the activity of eating. When a Yid eats, this is what's going on. Conceptually, it looks, again, what's near a lion. I see a Jew biting into an apple. Of course, the Jew made a bracha, the guy didn't make a bracha. Again, that's like the difference between an ox and a donkey. That's not where the Havdalah is. In the actual, the chewing, the masticating, the salivating, in that looks exactly the same. When a Yid does it and when a guy does it, that's what we're going to see Kedushas Yisrael. And this is how he explains it. The Ashrei, okay, everyone has the paragraph on Amud Kufayin Zayin, the Ashrei. The Ashrei L'mishi Yadeh L'hashiv Kol Davar L'shasha Makari. Okay. Broadly speaking, okay, when he's talking about the Aveda of Tzaddikim, the things that the Tzaddikim do, of Shlomo, where to hand that? So you can take my sefer because I'm more comfortable working from the notes. Amud Kufayin Zayin. Basically, what he's going to say is like this: what a tzaddik eating or other acts of physicality does different than stam a generic human being is. Think of a chain with broken links, okay? And you have a master jewelry repairman who keeps on fixing the links that are broken until ultimately, if you give a shekel up here, if the link is up high somewhere, if the chain, I should say, is rooted someplace high, and you give it a little shekel, there's an immediate sympathetic vibration down here. And lidachis, and conversely, you give it a little shekel down here, it's all connected, it's all interlocked. Cause, effect, cause, effect. Basically, the Chai HaChayim, the life, the source of all life, the Sibas Kol HaSibas, Ilas Kol Ilas, are words, are descriptions, theological descriptions. That's what we call Hashem. Where the buck stops, okay, where that thing that can only be a cause and not an effect, that's a good working definition of God. Okay? So when a person in his eating is reconnecting that which he is eating with the next step, which is to the next step, which is to the next step, which ultimately leads Kaviyachal to Hashem, that's a kind of an avodah, that's a kind of different, holy, sanctified eating that he's discussing here. And this kind of eating, it's going to be clear a little bit later, these are kavanas that you learn from the Arizal. This is even not, if you're not melubin in Kabbalah, again, the broad outlines, some kind of description of what's going on, he'll say over here, but again, sometimes my Rashivas used to say, as was edler the nimshal als grabim was on the mashal. The more abstract and the more ephemeral, the more halig, the nimshal is, sometimes you have to use a very grabba mashal, right? There are sports fans sitting in the room. There are people who follow football. And people fancy themselves, I'm a student of the game, I know about defensive formations, and I know to play. But you're nothing compared to a pro player who's been in the camp, who studied a playbook this thick, and he knows that what all those X's and O's mean, of avink, so to speak, immediately, right? So again, the broad outlines of what's going on he's going to give to us, but how you repair these links in the chain, that's Kabbalah. That's not something that we're shaykh to. Blessed is the one, praiseworthy is the one who can return everything to its source and to its root. In other words, it's a conduit. If the pipeline is broken, if a bridge is broken, traffic can't move either way. Okay, we have separated lanes. Sometimes I'll tell you the outbound GW is good, the inbound is no good. but think of it more like an artery that gets clogged or a plumbing pipe that gets clogged. Right? There's no traffic either way. If you can connect everything back to the source, you can unclog the artery. You can do a little spiritual angioplasty, so to speak. So then the shefa comes down easily through that open bandwidth as well. I'm mixing a lot of metaphors here, but you get the basic idea. By your kavanas of achila, to plug the eichel and the chiyas, the vitality you're getting eichel, back up the chain of causality, back to Hashem, then you open the tzinaris, you open the conduits to bring shefa down from Hashem. What do Chazal say shchokim means? Shchokim, b'pashtus means one of the shamayim, one of the ma'inis in shamayim. Chazal says shesheichak as mon l'tzadikim, that they grind man for tzadikim and to all the holy elamas. Whenever we make B'tzilas HaPas, we make a bracha, HaMaitzi Lechem Min Ha'aretz. So there's a definite article. HaMaitzi, the one who's Maitzi, Ha'aretz. HaMaitzi is the highest thing. HaMaitzi is Hashem alone. Ha'aretz is the lowest thing, the most terrestrial, the most physical thing. When you miyachid those two things, when you unite them, when you makasha them, when you tie them together, you bind them together, you're doing this avodah that he's talking about of relinking the chain, of being makasha everything the way it has to be. The hay, those two hays, the first hay of Hamaitzi and the first hay of Haaretz, hem shtei hay in Shem HaGadol Havaya. Those are Yud Kei Vav Kei, the two hays in that Shem, the Shem Kodesh, the proper name of Hashem, the name that we never pronounce outside the Beis HaMikdash. Every time a tzaddik, someone who knows what they're doing, al pi kavanas ari, he makes a birchas hamaitzi, he's been miyachid those two hayin. When you raise up the earthly to the heavenly, you can bring the heavenly down to earth too. Because that hay, Helyana, now has the power, is now empowered to bring down, we know this all from Eshes Chayil, he's alluding to Tarif Levesa v'chayk l'narisah. Chayk is another word. Hatrifeni lechem chuki, it also means sustenance and shefa and so on. Okay. Very abstract stuff, it gets a little bit more understandable, but again, still, there's this time, we're learning this, Vayigba Libe B'darkei Hashem, it's not a participation sport, it's a spectator sport. At least, we get some kind of an insight in how the tzaddikim operate, at least in theory, the way an emes tzaddik eats. V'hu nasa b'zeh kedugmas ha'kohen, ha'ovid avoid al mizbeach. You know what, before I read this shtickle, I want to read another shtickle. Turn over the handout a little bit to Omid Kufay and Ches. There's a dibra maschel v'achakach k'shiyeshu lechel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 lines down from the top of that paragraph. It's a sentence that starts with words v'ata shema. Okay, listen to what he's going to say now. V'ata shema es asher omer lecha. Listen to what I'm going to tell you now. Kihine, ein lecha davar medivrei ha'olam hazeh. There's nothing in this world. She'ein b'yitzar kedusha v'chiyas. HaKedusha ha'machayas adavrahu. Everything, even tamei dika things, have something holy that's vivitating them, that's keeping them alive, that's animating them. U'kaman Rabbi Seinu zal. Ein lecha kol esav ve'esav melamata she'ein lei mazel melamala v'rakia ha'maka esai v'harmelai gedal. I always thought it was gadel, but then again, it's a product of the American yeshiva system. I'm innocent of any knowledge of true digduk. Here it says, I'm like Gedal. Okay? There is no blade of grass anywhere in the world that doesn't have a malach, a sar, malamayla and shemayim, that, metaphorically speaking, isn't banging on its head, isn't urging it on. Grow, grow, grow. That's what grass does. Grass is there to grow. It means whatever the thing, the pool of the thing is. A peacock has a malach that's saying, show off, be mispar, show your feathers. An eagle has a malach that's telling it soar. Everything in the world has a koyach ruchni. That's the battery of the you get these electronic cars that go. You have a remote control. The remote control, the battery. That's really the car isn't really an automobile. It's not on its own. And even an automobile, which means to go on its own. And the Greek etymology, the words automobile. There's an oil combustion engine. There's something in there. If there would be nothing under the hood, the thing would be inert. It wouldn't move. Right? So metaphysically, it works that way too. The malachim, without going too far afield over here, and Mazel Yisrael is one of the big differences between Hashgacha Pratis and Hashgacha She'ena Pratis. The way the Eibishter works, Kaviyachol, his providence in the world is a kind of a delegation of authority. There are malachim that are in charge of different things. But those malachim are Kaidish, and everything has some kind of a Kayach Ruchni. You want to call it malach, you want to call it a Nitzis of Kedusha. He shows something parv over here. The Mechaber Chozah Chazal talks about a blade of grass. A blade of grass is morally neutral. I mean, if it's not a dandelion, if it's not a horrible weed growing in my garden, so what's wrong with a blade of grass? It's not good, it's not bad, it's just grass. Yeah? We learned here in the shul a few weeks ago, Chaim HaKadosh says that he's trying to explain the mahalach of how Makas B'chayris works. And he said that this is true even of Sitra Achra, even of the dark side. Eretz Haaretz, Mitzrayim was the lowest of the low, the Memta Shai Tuma. There was still something Kaddish vitalizing it, keeping it alive, keeping it going. Okay. Now let's go back to Kufayin Zayin. Now I think you'll begin to understand what he's saying about a Kayan working in the Beis HaMikdash compared to a tzaddik eating food. Okay, again, this technique of being mekasher, of bringing things, relinking the chain, as it were. What does a Kayan do when he's working in the Beis HaMikdash and he's being makriv karbanos on the Mizbeach? What he's trying to do is this. Okay, a lot of people. Okay, one of the but one of the first things when the Reform movement came out, one of the first things they did was they excised all parts of the Siddur that have any reference to animal sacrifice. They thought it was primitive. They thought it was chayzvus. We'd outgrown animal sacrifice. Instead of an Elach Yid, their whole lives they're looking forward to binyan be'ezem mekayim shel zavachim. We say with such yearning, with such longing. Like in the good old days. We're all looking forward to the return of Avodas HaKabanos, Zvachim and Menachos. Why isn't it primitive? Why isn't it just a big slaughterhouse? I've seen some friar describe it. It says on Erev Pesach, the Azara got so full of blood they had to dam up the Shiloach, the stream that ran through the Azara, the Beis HaMikdash, that it should rise a little bit and clean off the Kahanim's feet. Why isn't it just a big slaughterhouse? What's actually going on with the Karbanos? Okay, so a lot of great thinkers, Yiddish thinkers have said different things. This is the Mahalach he's saying. You take the animal, you kill it. You might see its chiyas. The chiyas is in the blood. Hadamu ha-nefesh. Adam ki Adamu ha-nefesh. The side of a thing's vitality is its blood. Our generic term for any kind of a killer is a shayfach damim. Doesn't matter if he kills with drowning or with poison or smoke inhalation of his victims. You're shayfach damim. Yeah? Dam is the vitality of the thing. So you're taking the vitality of the thing, the chiyas of the thing, and you're putting that on the mizbeach. When you burn the meat of the animal on the mizbeach, you're literally being mala'it. V'haraya. First of all, Lashon Chazal, Hasheichet v'hamala, Kodshim b'chutz. Sheichet v'hamala means to put it onto the makam aktar. You put it onto the place where it gets burnt. But more than that, the carbon that gets completely burnt It's called an oila. The word's called, it's a rising carbon. It's an ascent carbon. That's the method of ascent. The way we get in a quite literal way, we convert it to gas, and the gas rises, the smoke rises. It goes, even in the physical planes, it's rising. It's ascending. Right? But what he's saying is, this avodah of kabbalas is an avodah of his kashrus. You're taking the chiyas of the thing, and you're raising it back to Shemayim, to the makar of the chiyas. There was never Bessie the cow that became the Karban Shalom here on earth. If there wasn't a malach upstairs saying Bessie, grow, say moo, give milk, eat grass, whatever cows are supposed to do. There was always a malach. And behind the malach, who's the power standing there? Behind the malach? Malach Eiches Kum, the Eibishter line. So basically what you're doing with a carbon is, you're going in the reverse direction. The Hashpah comes, Malamayu, Lamata, from the Shemayim to the Eretz. Hashem is Machai everything. And when you take the essence, the essential chiyas of the thing, the dam, and put that on the Shulchan Hashem, on the Mizbeach, that's a stairway to heaven, that's a conduit to Shemayim. And literally, when you burn the parts, and they're Nis'al L'Shemayim, you mean Makasher, you're recognizing the source, and you're plugging things back into the source. That's how we understand Avodas HaKabbanis. Right? It's many links, and it's a long chain with many links in the chain. The kind was versteht was knows which ring of the chain he just repaired, but it's all part of the rings in the chain. Kedivra Hazar HaKadosh, Roz of the Korban, the secret of a carbon, Ad Ein Sof, is that it goes until Kaviyach to the Ein Sof, the endless one. It's a kinui in Kisvei Kabbalah and Chassidus for the Eibishter. Ein Sof, the Ar Ein Sof, the endless one. V'alkein kosfu kol yedechen. Listen to this. This is wild. Okay? Why do we say Vidui on Erev Yom Kippur? Simple question. It's not a trick question. Why do we say Vidui on Erev Yom Kippur? Before Sudas HaMasek, it's a Yom Chol. It's Erev Yom Kippur. It's not Yom Kippur yet. Right? Mincha, Erev Yom Kippur, the Minig Yisrael is, you daven Mincha Erev Yom Kippur before you Sudas HaMasek. Why is there Vidui during Sudas HaMasek? Right? In case you're choking a meal. Right? That's how everyone understands. You do Vidui, this might be your only chance. You may not live to see another Yom Kippur. Chap around one Vidui. Listen to what he says here. Hu Yedechen, and not the Arizal. Rabbeinu Yain the B'Yisrael Atshuva, Rabbeinu Chaim, that's Reb Chaim Vital, Shara Kedusha, V'Oid. Okay, they're probably more mystical ones, but these are pretty, they don't keep this in the Kabbalah section of Zunul Berman. These are Mrs. Farm here. So the Yedechen, and for those of you who are not familiar, Chen is Rosh Hashanah. It's a pasuk in Tanakh, Yedechen, but Chen is also Rosh Hashanah, Chachmas Nister. So it's a way of saying Mekubalim, Yedechen. Right? Shetzarech le'zvayas al v'nais of Kadam Achilosai. You should be mizvada, not just on Erev Yom Kippur. Every time, before you eat, you should say Vidui. Why? If a carbon needs vidui, so a meal needs vidui. When a tzaddik eats a meal, it's like a kayan being marked of a carbon in the base of English. Karbanis didn't go without vidui. A tzaddik's meals don't go without vidui. Maybe it's a carbon of all of them is vada. Okay, now he gets a little bit more understandable for a short spurt here. The Rambam says, you put your two hands between the animal's two horns, you lean your weight on it, mizvada, al chatoyis, avoin chatos v'chul. Ad ketz mizvada, omer chatos avisi, v'chazayda b'shuva v'nach ad kan. Okay? So in other words, the idea of a carbon is, you have to do tshuva and you have to say vidui. Vidui is the essence of tshuva, especially in the thought of the Rambam. It's not even clear if they're two separate mitzvahs. You got to do tshuva, you got to say vidui before you bring the carbon. If karbanis is about reconnecting everything with the chayim, with the Ein Sof, yeah, every chet, every aveira that you do in tshuva, a chet is a disconnect. Every time a person is over an aveira, the pshat is The Eibishter has his agenda, and Chalila, I have my own. It's an independent agenda. Right? Every time you do an Aveira, in a certain sense, you're breaking the link in the chain, or at least the bottom link in the chain, the link that you yourself represent. You're disconnected from the chain. So the tikkun of that, the repair of that, the Aveira of the carbon, Ramban says a much more pshatov things. He says it's an audio-visual aid to tshuva. The person's supposed to be thinking, whatever's happening to the animal ought to be happening to me. I forfeited my right to exist when I was a chayta. That's a mahalach. But he's saying a more mystical kind of a mahalach. I mean, I'm reading a little bit into it. He doesn't say this about chet, but I'm saying it about chet. That if the chet disconnected you from the chain, the carbon reconnects you from the chain. But the only way the carbon is going to reconnect you from the chain is if you show us as tut devei that you're disconnected. That's what a vida is. That's what shuv is. I feel so terrible. Loshen Rabbi on Emshar Shuva. Mar v'ra azvei as Hashem. The abandoning of Hashem, the disconnection from Hashem, is bitter and bad. And if you recognize it, that's the cure itself. If you understand that it's bitter and bad, you're not disconnected anymore. You've reconnected yourself. Uksiv, zivchei alikim ruach nishbara. The zvachim, the offerings for Hashem, is a broken spirit. Shekesheretz olahakiv karban ofnei Hashem, tzarich mikam lishba liba bekirba. Before you're going to bring a carbon, you have to come to the madrega shrius alive. You have to break your own heart. Lizvades all v'naisav, l'kabel all of avedis b'ay b'layv shalom. To confess your averis, to makabel that from now on you're going to do good. Oz, listen to this. Elikim le'sivza. What's the end of the pasuk? Zivcha elikim. Fighter, it's the Shem elikim, not the Shem Hashem. Ruach nishbara. Elikim le'sivza. She'af elikim. She'u b'chinas hadin le'sivza. Such a kind of a tshuva and such a kind of a carbon will not be ignored even by the midas hadin. U'makabel b'ava. What does this mean? What does this Dush Shabbos mean to say? I always thought that tshuva is from the midas harachmim. Comes the Yom Narayim, we call them Yom Harachmim Vadin, yeah. But you want to do tshuva, you say vidi, but you say Yud Gimel midas harachmim. What does he mean over here that even the elikim le'sivza, the midas hadin? So I'm thinking like this. Is my own theory. I could be wrong. Talking a little bit about the Suda of Yom Kippur. So there's an unbelievable mahalach, an unbelievable approach of the Rabbani Yaina. Some Rishonim learn, it's Chazal, it says, Kol ha'eichel b'tshi, if you eat on the 9th day of Tishrei, kilu hisana shiva asiri. It's like you're fasting for 2 days. So with some Rishonim say, because it's achana, you get yourself ready. If you carb up, it's easier to fast in Yom Kippur. And there is the marked contrast. You ate so much the day before, makes the suffering, makes the inuyim of a day of fasting even sharper, and that's part of the therapeutic process. Rabbi Yonah says like this. I'm paraphrasing, but it's poetry. You got to see it inside. So I hope I'm not messing it up too badly. Rabbi Yonah says be'erich. Simchasai da'higia zman kaparasai tiya la'eda al da'agasai la'avaynai v'ashmasai b'chatasai. A person's simcha, when the time of his kapara is right there, you can smell the goal line. Kate slichu mechila. It's the end. Yom Kippur is the end of this long 40-day period. It's time for a shchai shal of tshuva, and you can feel it. You can taste it. That the Eibishter is about to say, Salachti Kedvarecha. It's a yont of Suda. It's not a carving up Suda. It's not a Suda to make the fast sharper. It's a holiday. It's a simcha. A bris, a bar mitzvah, a chasana. It's something to celebrate. Celebrating your kapara is the strongest testimony to the sincerity of your tshuva. You can't fake this. Okay? It's all the same emotion. The dogma I always give myself with this Rabbi Yan is, imagine a guy has a hole in his pocket and he loses a $5 bill. So maybe he'll utter one expletive, shrug his shoulders, Yair Shvaita Gegan. Mais Mufazaris, forget it, I'm never going to see it again. Right? A guy hit the lotto jackpot. $30 million payout. Lump sum. After taxes. Right? And he was so irresponsible with a lottery ticket. Yeah? That he stuck it in a hole with a pocket. And now he lost that. There's not somebody, first of all, if he's given to Nivel Peh, he's going to curse for 48 hours straight without stopping. Then he'll start tearing his hair out. Then he'll be Yikru Karcha, I don't know, go to that. I don't know what he'll do. All kinds of avelos. They're forbidden by that, right? Now imagine the difference between a wind blowing back the $5 bill that was lost and a wind blowing back the winning lottery ticket. The guy who lost the $5 bill, easy come, easy go, easy come. I lost it, I got it back. Okay, it wasn't a big loss, it's a big gain. Okay, he'll smile for 10 seconds. Serendipitous, my lucky day. Maybe I should buy a lottery ticket today. But the guy who thought he had lost his winning lottery ticket, and now he knows he has it. He's doing a jig, he's inviting all of his friends, 20,000 of his most intimate associates, to throw a party in the Nassau Coliseum. That's the Suda of Erev Yom Kippur. Suda of Erev Yom Kippur is there's nothing in this world that's more valuable to me, that's more life-giving, that's more joy-giving than my relationship with the Eibishter. And there's nothing that ruins that. The hole in the pocket that makes me lose that thing, that priceless thing of ultimate value, than chet. Now that the hole is about to be stitched up, the relationship is about to be repaired. Azah simcha. Right? That's the Rabbeinu Yaina. I think that the Suda Shel Shabbos is saying a little bit the same thing. That's midas hadin. That's a tshuva that there's some justice to it. It's not stam rachmim. Okay, I forgive you. I shouldn't forgive you. Akiras haratzon, kakiras hamaisa, mechataisa. Right? If it's all about, if you lose ruchnius by not valuing it, and that's ultimately what every sin is an expression of. If so, who needs my relationship with the Rabbi Shalom? The chet that's Arav Lashar, that's more expedient, that's more sweet for this moment, that means more to me. Right? That's zilzal in Hashem, that lack of Avos Hashem, lack of Yiras Hashem, whatever, that dysfunctional relationship with the Eibishter. That's what a chet is. The tshuva is itself the repair. It's almost like you're forcing the Eibishter's hand to say salachti. It was all about that I didn't value the relationship. I do value the relationship. V'haraya, my tears when it's ruined, and my ecstasy, my joy when it's repaired. Zivche Elokim, the midas hadin is murder to a ruach nishbara. If you're so broken up over this, taka hadin nissen that things are patched up, that I can forgive you. Efsher, b'derech efsher. U'kemay kein koydem achi losek u'dein ke'en dugmas akarmim k'mo shekasavna. Okay, now here also I have to, extrapolate, things I've seen in other svarim. What's the sushtal? Okay, I understand how he's touching a carbon, and why you should do tshuva, and you have to have ruach nishbar before you bring a carbon. A chet is a disconnect, a carbon is a reconnect. What does that have to do with our achila? So Chassidus Svarim say, I think from earlier Mukabalim, that everything in the Bria is one of four levels, a four-tiered progression. The Rosh Hashanah's word is Datzchan. It stands for Daimim, Semeach, Chai, Medaber. Daimim literally means silent. We would define that as inert, lifeless, mineral. Or, right, a rock, a dead piece of wood, water, Daimim. Semeach is plant life. Chai is animal life. Medaber is human beings. Interesting that the two polarities, I could describe minerals a lot different ways than that they're silent. I think I could describe human beings a lot different than their speech endowed. But Lamaisa, those are the two poles. But Lamaisa, the way it works is like this. A plant draws up its chiyus from the minerals. Soil is a diamond. You plant a wheat plant, you plant a tree sapling in the soil. Soil is diamond. But the plant grows and raises it to a higher form of existence. Now it's converted, now it's incorporated into the body of the plant. Herbivores, animals that eat plants. So they took the plants which are immobile, which are rooted. Yeah, they're tzemeach, but they're not chai. They have no movement. And now that gets incorporated into the body of the animal. And now that's at a higher level. A ben adam, a medaber, eats balei or eats plants, or ingests minerals, salt, vitamins, and pesvas. So again, you're being mala, you're raising things, you're promoting things. Yeah, through the corporate structure, if you will. Yeah, to the higher level, to the highest level. So I think that's a zushtel between a shulchan, a private individual eating, and what a kohen does in the Beis HaMikdash. It's different methods, different techniques to get to the same goal. To reconnect things from the bottom back to the top, which is where they're really sourced in, you can do that two ways. You can either kill them away, so to speak, which is what they did, and take the essence of their chiyas and forcefully push it back upstairs, so to speak. Dam on the mizbeach, mala through the ocean, the meat of the animal. That's one way to reconnect with things on high. And another way to reconnect is you take the thing that is at the lowest level of creation and you keep on promoting it through higher levels, which that's what human ingestion is. When I eat, okay, that's what I'm doing. If I have this kavanah, that's what I'm doing. If I don't have this kavanah, then I'm just satisfying my taste buds. But the reason that a shulchan is daima to a mizbeach, I think is this vart, because they're both acts of linking links on a chain and reconnecting it to things on high. V'achakach, k'sheyoshev lecho, hina tzaddik oichel rak l'seiva nafshay. Yeah, Grosser Rabbi, Grosser Yid once told his Gabi, kept on telling his Gabi to bring him different things to make a bracha on. So he got annoyed. He said, Rabbi, why don't you just eat what's on the table? He said, understand. He says, you make a bracha in order to be allowed to eat. I eat in order to be allowed to make a bracha. What's the difference between me and you? So listen to what he says over here. Hina tzaddik oichel rak l'seiva nafshay. Lazbiya nafshay mikol chiyus v'nitzaytzeh akdusha b'tei chamachlu. Okay, the Olam should forgive me. I'm going to go three minutes overtime, but this you got to hear. This is basic, and this is agamitz kisvei ari. This is somewhat understandable. What he's going to say now. It's a hafla. It's a fundamental Chassidus side. The Ari touched the pasuk. Beferish a pasuk. Ki lo ya'alech l'mevada yichya ha'adam. A person does not live by bread alone. Ki al kol meitzeh pi Hashem yichya ha'adam. But by that which exudes from God's mouth, a man shall live. Okay? So, the prosaic translation, before you get to Arizal, what's touched in that pasuk? Okay? I can't just eat. I need education. I need culture. I need music. I should live my life by the mitzvah of Hashem, by the laws of God. Look at Mepharshim on that pasuk. There's a lot of mahalachim. Right? We know it would be a pretty sad existence if all we could do was eat and drink. Even if we were eating pomegranate food. Sad. The best just got better, right? But if that's all we had in our lives, we didn't have families, we didn't have society, we didn't have work, we didn't have learning, we didn't have music, we didn't have other things that enrich our lives. That's the Pasha Taish over here. He says an unbelievable thing. In the side of keeping body and soul together, and remember, from an authentic Jewish hashkafa, human life is not just an advanced biological machine. It is the union of a guf and a neshama. What's the glue? What holds that together? So, before we read it inside, I'll telegraph the punch for you. Okay? The chelik hagufni of a person gets satiated by the chelik hagashmi of the food that he's ingesting. But everything, every blade of grass has its malach. Yeah, the Bechayris of Mitzrayim, the quintessence of a depraved society, they had a spark of Kedusha. Everything has a Kedusha in it, even if it's inert, even if it's a diamond. There's Kedusha in there. And when you eat something, the physical nutrients get into your bloodstream and nourish your physical plant, and whatever Kedusha was in there goes through conduits unknown to me. I'm not a makobel, but somehow or another, some kind of circulatory digestive system breaks it down and nourishes your neshama. if there wouldn't be a Maitzi Pi Hashem in the bread, in the lechem, your neshama would wither away and die. Now let's read it inside. This is our Rizal talking. For Chokra, philosophim, when he says philosophim, I think he means scientists. Leida, Sibas Chibur HaNefesh Beguf, Aydei Achila. How does eating keep body and soul together? How does it that we eat, we live? We stop eating, we starve, we die. Why is that? Again, so a kaifer would say, it's very simple. We're a biological plant, we're a biological piece of machinery. You don't feed it, it's going to die. They only recognize the guf. But the philosophim recognize that such a thing as a neshama. How does eating keep the guf and the neshama together? Did the neshama get anything out of the achila? The philosophim were stumped by this. They had no answer to this question. Now listen to what I'm going to say. I'm going to read this very fast because we read it once already. There's kedusha that's mechaya, it vivitates, it gives life to everything. Not just human beings and not just animals, not just balachayim, everything. Blades of grass, and I'd say diamond also. There's no single blade of grass that doesn't have a malach, a koyach of kedusha on high that's connected to it, that's giving it growth. What this chazal means is the hashpah that comes from on high. I answer the heavens, I give to the heavens, and the heavens give to the earth. It's again this chain. Think of it as cascading waterfalls. Every waterfall has a bigger bowl than the next one, till the bottom one collects from all the ones on top of it. That's how the hashpahs go. Nimtza, called Michael ba'olam hu ma'ayir beguf nefesh. Every Michael. You're eating a potato, the potato has a soul. You're eating a rib steak, the rib steak has a soul. You're eating bread, the bread has a soul. There's a Maitzei Pi Hashem in your lechem. Nimtza, called Michael ba'olam hu ma'ayir beguf nefesh. Ha-Michael ha-nigla hu ha-guf, the visible, physical Michael is the guf, is the body. The ruchniistic power, the malach on high, that's telling it to grow, that's its soul. When an eater eats it, that is how his body and his soul stay united, because when you do an act of eating, you're nourishing both your body and your soul, because what you're eating had a soul too. The soul part of what you're eating nourishes your soul. The physical part of what you're eating nourishes your body. The nefesh has hana and has sustenance from the soul of what you ate, and the body from the body of what you ate. This is what the pasuk means. We get a big guf, but our neshama will wither, and ultimately we die that way. Now the breakdown of our physical plant, the breakdown of our spiritual plant. The Zaynai. Dimken, Mata Elsla Nefesh Mizeh. What does the Nefesh get? If the, it's like the nutritionist to say, white bread is gefährlich. There's no whole grain in there. It's glucose. You're not getting the nutrients that you really need out of the food. So in a metaphysical sense, in a spiritual sense, if there's nothing in the food that's ruchnius, where's your ruchnius going to get sustenance from? Elal kol meitzah pi Hashem. Right, so loim sheyesh lo meitzah halachem pi Hashem. Dahainu hashpah shemakabay v'oimel hashiyetz l'chutz v'yigdal ayadei zeh yichya adam. Okay. This is what the Rizal says. Every achila has in it ruchnius agashmis. If we don't feel our own neshamas, it's very hard to eat this way. It's very hard to sit down to a meal, to sit down to a loaf of bread or a slice of bread, and see, hey, there's malachim in the wheat grains over here. There's kaychas rukni malamala. They're giving this thing form. But grace at tzaddikim, who are in touch with ruchniistic things, first and foremost, the existence and the vitality of their own neshama, they eat with a conscious awareness of the Maitzah Pi Hashem that's in the things that they're eating. It's a lot easier again to understand how the shulchan of a tzaddik is not to a mizbeach. And with this, we are ready to eat our cholents for tonight, I think.
Which has a salt. So what is it? Again, especially not a critical rock. The 7 I'm sure
The rock is his insertion. Tzadik eichel l'seva nafshe. It means a stama mensch, is eating to satiate his body. But a tzaddik also wants to eat l'seva nafshe. He has to make his nefesh zat. There's a mitzvah pi Hashem. There's an neshama in this food stuff, and I'm extracting that when I eat too.
So nefesh means the spirituality.
Right. It's not, in the pasuk l'seva nafshe. No, I think that means the neshama of the tzaddik himself. In the pasuk of al mitzvah pi Hashem yechei adam, there is a mitzvah pi Hashem in everything they eat. That's giving it form, that's giving it sustenance, that made the raw material grow, that made the animal that I eat, whatever. The malach, that was responsible for the growth of this thing.